Okay, we're continuing with the quotes from Holy Grail of Wisdom quotes by Meet Rogers in alphabetical order. We're doing Karl Marx. And Karl Marx is important to know because his arguments are so weak. They're easy to refute, but you need to know them in order to be able to refute them. So the first statement of Karl Marx is, the theory of communism may be summed up in a single sentence: abolition of private property. Okay, now do you recognize how incredibly stupid this is? What he's basically saying to the proles is, I'm going to help you. I'm going to take all your stuff away. Well, how do we benefit from somebody taking all our stuff away? It's a disaster. Communism pretends to be the friends of the poor, but what it really does is it uses the poor to destroy the middle class. And then once the middle class is destroyed, it just laughs at the poor, because now everybody's poor except the Communist Party. Okay, it's a trick that's played on the public. Okay, they turn the poor against the middle class to destroy the middle class and then to leave everybody poor. It's a modern form of slavery by which a small number of people can control a large number of people. It centralizes. It wants to centralize everything so fewer people can control more. Okay? So again, remember that. He's telling them, I'm going to take all your stuff away. Why would anyone want that? It's not about helping the proles, okay? The next quote of Karl Marx. My object in life is to dethrone God and to destroy capitalism. Okay, now do you realize how insane that is? God is the number one friend of the little guy. God is the one who says, in the beginning of the Bible, man is created in the image of God. Therefore, man is part divine. There he is. Therefore, he is intrinsically of some value. Therefore, he has natural rights, to liberty, to free speech, to privacy, to private property. Okay, if you say you get rid of God, then there is nothing above the ruler. Once you get rid of God and go to atheism, that means the ruler has complete power. They can do whatever they want, arbitrary, on a whim, okay? And as far as economics go, if you don't want to know anything about economics, read the Austrian economics, okay? Capitalism is the only thing that works. Anybody who's done any study of economics and is honest will tell you that. This is well known, okay? Ayn Rand will tell you this. Ayn Rand's entire book, Atlas Shrugged, is all about why capitalism is good and other forms of economics are bad, like altruism, socialism, and all this nonsense, okay? You can learn this very easily. Look at Milton Friedman, the genius economist, Nobel Prize winner. He'll tell you, capitalism is the only thing that works. And the simple reason why capitalism is the best and it works is because it rewards people for their effort. It rewards people for their skill. Okay, you don't want it, fake capitalism. You want laissez-faire capitalism, all right? Where everybody has a chance to be rewarded for their efforts. Marx continues, the ruling ideas of each age have been the ideas of the ruling class. Then he says, the education of all children from the moment they can get along without a mother's care shall be in state institutions. Yes, he wants them to come into the public schools so they can be brainwashed into complete obedience, into all kinds of gaslighting, stupidity, to accept however they can be chumped. They want to destroy their true heritage. They want to destroy the knowledge of their ancestral heroes who might motivate them to work for more, to try for more. They want them to think that their ancestors were bad, their heritage is bad, the history of their country is bad, because that way it'll be easy to get rid of it and push them into slavery. Young people tend to be very naive, okay? They'll believe anything you tell them. So you tell them that their history was bad, evil, stupid, then they're like, okay. And they'll accept some type of nonsense change which basically impoverishes them and steals their freedom. They don't know any better, okay? It's like the, let's see, the public schools are a disaster for kids. Don't send your kid to a public school if you have any choice whatsoever. Get them into homeschooling if you can. If you can't do that, get them into a Catholic school. And if you can't do that, get them into some other type of private school. Okay, let's see, the next quote of Karl Marx. Religion is the opiate of the people. He's trying to get rid of religion because he knows once you get rid of religion, you can destroy the people. If they've got religion, that makes them stronger, that makes them more unified. Religion comes from the Latin word religare. Legare is to ligate, to tie together. It binds the people together with common assumptions, common shared values, makes them more unified, makes it harder to deceive them, manipulate them, mistreat them, or get them to mistreat each other. Okay, Blaise Pascal said, Jesus is the great equalizer of men. Again, because he sends the message that, You're all together, sons of Christ. Jesus wants sons, okay? Communism wants slaves. There's a big difference, okay? Religion is what protects the little guy. God, Jesus says, you're all equal in the eyes of God. That which you do to the least of my brethren, you do unto me. I give unto you another commandment, to love each other as I have loved you. That means be nice to each other. And you're going to go be judged someday. And so, based on how you treat everybody, not just the rich billionaires. Okay, next with Karl Marx, he says, communism begins where atheism begins. Yep, it's the religion of communism is atheism. It's the amoral foundation of communism. Again, because it frees the ruler up to do whatever they want, because there are no morals. Now here's a quote by Alexander Solzhenitsyn. He's the guy who wrote Gulag Archipelago from Russia. He's a guy who was a captain of a tank squadron in World War II that, helped Russia win the war and go all the way into Germany. And he was expecting sort of a hero's welcome. And he came back and he was told, you have been corrupted by the West, okay? And they needed him for a little while as a mathematics school teacher, but as he began to speak his mind more freely, he was thrown into concentration camps, and he learned what it was really all about and what it was really like. And then when he got out, he wrote Gulag Archipelago. I think he also wrote A Day in the Life of Ivan Denisovich, something like that was also related to this. But his book really shocked people. I read Gulag Archipelago. It was a rather extraordinary book. Basically, the Communist Party, human life means nothing to them. I remember Stalin had said, one life, one death is a tragedy, a million is a statistic. Okay, he had zero sympathy for the proles. So here is the quote from Alexander Solzhenitsyn. If I was asked today to formulate as concisely as possible what was the main cause of the ruinous revolution that swallowed up some 65 million of our people, of Christians, I could not put it more accurately than to say, men had forgotten God. That is why all this had happened. Okay, and remember that, because it's the same thing that's been well known since the Old Testament. When a population turns its back on God, becomes atheistic, they lose their unity, they become weak, somebody else comes in and kicks their butt and enslaves them. That's how it goes historically. The Bible's a great teacher of human behavior, human life, and society, because it documents thousands of years of history. Okay, Solzhenitsyn continues. The press has become the greatest power in the Western world. Modern society is hypnotized by socialism. It is prevented by socialism from seeing the danger it is in. And one of the greatest dangers of all is that you have lost all sense of danger. You cannot even see where it's coming from as it moves swiftly towards you. Yeah, and that's the typical pro. The typical pro thinks, oh, everything's okay. Yeah, right. You're being enslaved. Notice how with each generation, they become more and more poor and more sick, okay? I remember my father's generation. Those guys were wealthy, and they were smart, but they weren't that smart, okay? I'm way smarter than my dad was, all right? But it's much harder for me to make a living as a doctor in comparison like what it was for my father. They literally got paid 3 times as much, okay? America was rich. I remember back in the 1980s, people went to college for free in California. Okay, continuing on, next quote from Karl Marx. He says, keep people from their history and they are easily controlled. Take away a nation's heritage and they are more easily persuaded. Yeah, they know what they're doing. It's not a coincidence that the public schools don't teach the real history. You don't learn about the great American heroes. You don't learn about GW. You don't learn about Davy Crockett, Daniel Boone. You're not learning about all these guys, okay? And they don't want you to. You don't learn about Old Hickory. They don't want you knowing, all about Patton and MacArthur, all these great men. They don't want you to know about them, okay? Because it'll make you more strong and resolute in wanting to preserve the United States rather than let it slip into slavery. They don't want you to see great art. They want you to go to a modern art museum and see a bunch of crap that could have been done by a child, okay? Because they want to degrade you. Okay, that's why they say the founding fathers are bad, for example. Okay, Karl Marx, democracy is the road to socialism. Yeah, they know what they're doing. America was founded as a republic, not as a democracy. Democracy is a bad word. They try to pretend it's a good word. It's not. What you really want is a republic, representative government with checks and balances, with a constitution that limits political power, that's decentralized, that gives more power to the states for individual action, that the parents can have a strong influence on what is taught to their children, rather than some nonsense coming from a centralized bureaucracy that wants to degrade the kids. Okay. So, now here's a quote by Ayn Rand. The difference between socialism and communism is the difference between suicide and murder. Okay? She tells it like it is. Karl Marx continues. As socialism grows, religion will disappear. Yeah, he knows what he's talking about. It's a deliberate thing. They sort of want to get the religion out of the kids. They want to get the kids as young as possible to school, preschool, kindergarten, to turn them away from the values of their parents, to turn them against their parents, to turn them against religion, to make them easy to control, stupid. Okay, you look at the teachers, tons of videos on the internet now, all these teachers saying these children can't read, they can't think, they don't have good self-control, they're not really, they're dumb, they're not getting educated, they're not able to read. They're saying in even some of the better named colleges, the students can't read a book cover to cover. They spend all their time with this nonsense cell phones, which makes them stupid, in social media. You know, you can learn from watching educational videos. You don't learn much from hanging around with a bunch of friends where everybody's the same age and nobody knows any more than the other person, such that they can't teach each other. Young people learn from being around adults, from being around, older siblings who got more life experience can teach them. Not from running in around in a pack of same-age kids where they're all equally ignorant. Okay, next Karl Marx quote. The unity of the bourgeoisie can be shaken only by the unity of the proletariat. So what he's basically saying, yes, if the rich people use their influence and power, they can turn the poor against the middle class. And as they turn the poor against the middle class, they can crush the middle class. And once the middle class is crushed, then the rich can just laugh at the poor and everybody's poor and it's slavery time. That's how it works. It's rather obvious. This pattern has been repeated many times in history. Okay, and the poor don't understand, once they destroy the middle class, it's not like they're going to inherit the middle class. No, they're all going to be shoved down because that's how it goes. Okay, anyways. Next, Karl Marx continues. The proletariat have nothing to lose but their chains. They have the world to win. Workers of the world unite. And this is all nonsense. He's already said he's going to take away all your property. He's not going to give you anything. Communism is a trick to rob everyone except the Communist Party. Okay, he's going to take away all your property. Good luck getting laid for a guy if he has no property. All right? They take away all your stuff. It's harder to attract a woman. It's harder to live in comfort. It's harder to be healthy. Okay? Communism is modern slavery. That's what it is. That's what it's designed to be. The brilliance of it is you can trick people into doing behavior that's against their own self-interest, because on the surface of it, this altruistic nonsense sounds positive, but it's not. It's a deception. Okay, the absolutist ruler will not allow free speech. The proles will lose all their property. They'll lose their free speech. They'll lose trial to jury. They'll lose everything. They'll just become slaves. Karl Marx continues. For each according to his abilities, to each according to his needs. That's just BS, sounding, pretending to be nice, okay? And then he says, to destroy Christianity, we must first destroy the British Empire. Well, that's far along, in case anybody's wondered. Look at what's happening in England nowadays. They've already long ago taken away any semblance of free speech, and England's getting much worse and worse and worse. Okay, next thing he says, Karl Marx, when the train of history hits a curve, the intellectuals fall off. Yeah, they consider so-called intellectuals, like your average college professor, they consider them useful idiots. They'll buy into this nonsense of socialism, but when the time comes, they'll be abandoned. They'll be thrown down into the muck and to be poor chumps as well. Karl Marx, the history of all previous societies is the history of class struggles. No, it's not. People unify, and people across all the different levels can work together. They're not fighting with each other. Somebody who gives you a job is not giving you a hard time. They're giving you a job, okay? Anyways, this was an introduction to Karl Marx. As you see, he's one of the most evil men who ever lived, and his communism is a way to screw everybody over and bring back slavery. So it's not a good thing. So it's good that you have this introduction of it if the topic is new to you. I hope you found that helpful.